pleasure to introduce you to our Mental Health and Happiness series. This session is our Boost Empathy, Support Connection, and Shift Perspectives workshop. This is one of a multiple-part series, and you're welcome to view the additional videos on our website at bchd.org/series. The Mental Health and Happiness Initiative is a priority because we're focusing on helping people to build connection and support stress resilience. In 2017, we found that people are stressed and lonely in our Beach Cities community. And it was the first year nationwide that with the Well-Being Index, no city saw an increase in well-being. And now in 2020, it's even more important that we take time to focus on ways to support our well-being. So with that, I'd like to guide you through this empathy workshop. You may need a pen and paper if you'd like to take notes, and you can also reference the notes page available on our website. The learning objectives for this workshop are to explore the types of empathy, learn about empathy boosters versus empathy busters, and some of those communication tools that can help us to be better listeners, and practice active listening and perspective taking. The practice you may need to do on your own. Hopefully you can find a partner and someone to work with on this too. Empathy, the definition that we're working with here is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. There are three types of empathy: cognitive, emotional, and empathic concern. Cognitive empathy is about being able to see another person's view, having an understanding of what they may be feeling. Emotional empathy is being able to feel what they feel, actually taking on those feelings yourself, whether positive or negative. You can really resonate with how another person is feeling. Empathic concern involves both cognitive and emotional empathy. But the key here is that you have a readiness to act, a willingness to help, a sense of motivation. And what's the key distinction between these three types of empathy in terms of the impact to your own well-being? Well, it comes to distress versus concern. Many times we hear about empathy burnout, compassion fatigue. Empathic distress can be the negative result in terms of your wellness to relationships and having empathy. Empathic distress activates the parts of your brain that are the pain centers. And in activating that, of course, it's not going to feel good. You take it on as your own. And we're all human. We have our limits on what we can handle. So as we take on what others are feeling in addition to what we ourselves are feeling, it can be a lot. So what empathic concern does, and this closely ties to compassion, because you have a readiness and a willingness to act and to help, you're actually activating the reward centers of the brain. And research does support this. By activating the reward centers of the brain, you have a bit of distance from what's going on. You're not fully immersed in it. You're not stewing in it. You have one step out on perspective of the situation. And by wanting to help, you don't feel stuck. Your hope is the other person doesn't feel stuck. And you're ready and willing. That readiness is really key in supporting our well-being. Being able to take that perspective and knowing these emotions are not necessarily my own. The situation is not my own, but I can help. I can be here for the person. I can listen intently. I can be concerned rather than share in their distress. So some skills that may be helpful as we're working on boosting our empathy. I'd like to share with you some empathy boosters. And of course, as we think about this, we always want to make sure that our conversations are respectful and safe. And timing is important too. So if you're asked to engage in a conversation that may be on a heavy topic and it's really not a good time for you, it's okay to tune in to what you need. And it's actually more respectful to the other person to let them know that this may not be the best time for you to talk about something concerning. Offer another time. It's okay for us to set boundaries and to be mindful of what we really need. Now, assuming that you're in a situation where you do feel a readiness to connect, here are some empathy boosters to consider trying. Curiosity. Let's be curious in our conversations. The more inquisitive we are, the better we are at listening. Every interaction we have is an opportunity to learn and to grow. So we'll approach these conversations with curiosity and true listening. This isn't about agreeing with or understanding the other person. We're simply being curious. And by doing that, we focus on the connection. So if we focus on the connection, and we have many different roles and responsibilities in our lives, you may have closer connections with some people than others. But if we focus on the connection, it really helps us in staying present, staying aware of what this other person may be needing right now. Sometimes they may just be needing a listening ear. They don't need solutions, and that's okay. We don't always have to solve everything. Let's be open, present, and ask how the other person is feeling. These are keys to having meaningful, open, safe conversations. If we have assumptions or judgments, it's going to shut things down for ourselves and for the other person. Though your intention may be to help, chances are guards will go up and the conversation will come to an end, or it may go in a direction that's just not helpful for either one of you. By asking how the other person is feeling, it helps you avoid judging or projecting your own feelings too. It keeps us open. Being present. Sometimes we need to simply breathe, be in the moment with the person, and use our mindfulness, breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out, and continuing to listen. Paraphrasing and checking for understanding is important too. On the side of the screen, you'll see some examples of things that you can say to help support this paraphrasing. If I understand you right, it sounds like things didn't go the way you expected and it made you upset. Is that right? And we're not doing this in a patronizing way. We're doing this from a place of curiosity and openness, so we can check in. I can sense you're feeling really upset based on what you've described in this situation. Are you still feeling upset? How are you doing now? How are you feeling now? By allowing people to share, they're going to open up about their feelings. And it's our opportunity to sit with them and support them. You may not agree with how everything went, but we're going to try and avoid interrupting. Try to give the other person the same space and dedicated listening that you would want for yourself. Engaged body language. This is key too. Right now, you have my focused, undivided attention. I'm making eye contact. I'm at a reasonable distance close to the screen. I'm not distracted by my phone or other things going on. And I'm able to be fully present with you. And my hope is that you would be able to do the same for me as a listener. If there are times when distractions come up and we feel we can't be fully present, or we don't want to be fully present anymore, maybe things are getting uncomfortable, things are going on too long, we don't want to fake empathy. We don't want to fake, being present. If you really can't do that anymore in this moment, it's okay to check in and ask to continue the conversation later. This can be helpful if things get heated as well. We need to set our boundaries. We need to set up conversations for empathic success, if you will. So it's okay to check in that way. Express empathy with your responses. So we're saying things like, I can understand how that situation can cause worry. It sounds like there was a lot going on. And you mentioned how tired you were. It's understandable that would be a time to feel some anxiety. I understand. We're not necessarily saying, I agree, I'd be worried too. Let me tell you about this situation that I had when I was anxious. We're keeping the attention on the other person. And if the time arises in a conversation, you can offer that advice or let them know that you can relate. But for starters, we're just going to stay open and listen. For some, this is easy. This is what you do all the time. For others, this is a challenge. I may have just presented you with 6 challenges for your next conversation. Take these gradually. Small action steps are key. So don't feel like this is going to change overnight. Be kind to yourself. Set reasonable expectations for yourself and for other people. Not everyone has had the chance to take this workshop, and so they may not be aware of empathy boosters. And this is an opportunity for you to model what works well. And hopefully through doing that, you'll find that people are open to working on this skill building too and boosting their empathy as well. All of these empathy boosters allow us to be engaged, but not fully submerged in what's going on. We're able to keep our perspective, not get too involved to the point where it can be distressing. We're staying in that readiness to act, motivation to be connected. We're keeping a nice healthy boundary so that we can continue to support our own well-being as we connect. Now, if things go astray, these are our empathy busters. We may be guilty of some of these. You may pick up on these from other people, and the walls instantly go up. But let's at least build an awareness of what these empathy busters are. So with our empathy busters, solving the problem, I think we can all consider someone in our life who, if you go to them with a problem, they're going to come to you with a solution, whether you asked for it or not. I'll fix it. I'll be there. I'll do it. I'll take care of it. I'm on it. But solving the problem isn't always the best way to connect and to really give people the space to feel. Sometimes through these conversations, people will come to their own solutions, or they may offer for you something that you may consider doing to help them. And that's why the openness is key. So try and hold back from solving the problem. Unsolicited advice. Why don't you just try this? I did this time and it worked for me, and I think everybody should try that at least once. Or you know what I think about your situation? I think you should just end it. Switch jobs, end the relationship. I don't see really where this is headed at all. These can be really negative, and somebody may not be ready to hear all of this that you're saying. You may also see the glass as half full, and an unsolicited advice could look like, things will get better. Hang in there. I say just sit through those meetings, no matter how it's going, put a smile on your face and push through. Ultimately, it'll be okay. That's also not going to feel very good. Even though your intention may be to cheer someone on and support them, if they're in a space where they're not ready for that, then this can be an empathy buster. Unsolicited advice isn't helpful in increasing the connection. If the advice is invited, then please go ahead and share. But make sure you're checking in first. If you jump in with giving advice, you may miss out on hearing more about how the person's feeling and what they actually need. Dismissing feelings. By interrupting or saying at least it's not a big deal, oh, well, at least things worked out okay. At least you didn't cry in front of everybody. At least, you still have that friend, even though you're miserable in the friendship. You're kind of dismissing what the other person is saying and how they're sharing with you. So we need to just sit back in these moments. We don't need any qualifiers or justifiers. Just listen and take it in. See if you can pick up on how the person is feeling and how important this may be to them. People have varying levels of importance on certain things. It could be the age and stage of life that you're in. It could be the past experiences that you've had that really inform where you are now. Maybe someone's experiencing something for the very first time, and you've been through it more times than you can count. Remember, take their perspective. See if you can pick up on what they're thinking, what they're feeling. That readiness to act is not a readiness to put down their feelings. It's a readiness to support them, however they may need to be supported, however they ask to be supported. And sarcasm. We need to watch our tone in these situations. Although you may be ready to bring humor, or the person you're talking to may see sarcasm as humor and lightness, it doesn't feel very good to be on the receiving end of sarcasm, especially if you're not ready for it. So avoid the boo-hoos, the poor you, things couldn't be worse. Avoid those and simply listen. Now, taking into consideration these boosters and busters, let's move forward and consider some active listening guidelines. As we model the type of listening that we appreciate and connection that we appreciate, it's always helpful to have some guidelines. So let's focus on the connection and not the solution. Be curious, open, and present. Ask that of the other person and practice it yourself as well. Be respectful. If anything, be respectful. There may be situations when you actually don't feel empathy. You don't understand, want to understand, or agree with what the other person is saying. You may actually have feelings of contempt or disgust. Can you think of a situation where that may be happening? No matter what, we're going to stay respectful. We can have boundaries. We don't need to understand everything, but we need to stay respectful and model the appropriate ways to listen. And ask for that from the other person too. And like I said before, if for some reason this conversation is going in a direction that exceeds your boundaries, it doesn't feel healthy, you can stop it. You can say, this doesn't feel very respectful. I'm not comfortable to continue with this. And that's okay. Sometimes we need to be firm so that we can protect ourselves. And you may see that the other person needs that boundary set as well. No fixing or judging. So let's try to refrain from those habits that we have to fix or to judge. Engaged body language and attention. We want to stay in the moment with people. Give them our focused attention. If for some reason this is compromised, it's okay to ask to have the conversation at a later time, or to ask for some adjustments to be made so that it's easier to talk. Like maybe the internet connection keeps cutting out and you're missing the most important parts of someone's point. Just ask if you can switch to a phone conversation, or ask if you can call them back when you're home rather than out on the go. It's okay to ask for that. Ultimately, it's the best for both of you. And I would like to emphasize here that it's important to be mindful of your needs too. I touched on that a bit, but I want to really emphasize we can take mindful moments in these conversations, breathing in and considering, what do I need right now? And if the answer to that as you breathe in and breathe out is, I need a break, I need some space, I need some water. If there's something else that you need as this active listener, it's okay to go and get those, to fulfill those needs. It's okay. Stay in tune to that. It's our ways of avoiding burnout and distress. And that same motivation that you have to help the other person, you need to have that for yourself as well. We all need to be more compassionate with ourselves. So I hope that these active listening guidelines are helpful as you consider the conversations that you may be having and wanting to come from a place of empathy and tapping into empathic concern rather than empathic distress. So where do conversations start? We have a wellness check-in script at Beach City's Health District, and this is available online. If you go to bchd.org/resources or bchd.org/coronavirus, you'll start to find some of these helpful tools. On our resources website, you'll see many different opportunities to find support. And sometimes that can be a nice starting point as you want to dive deeper into how to best check in with yourself, or maybe in helping people find the support that they need. Sometimes we don't always have the right tools or the desire to be that supportive person for someone. And I think with our well-being put first, it's okay to set those boundaries. And sometimes it can be helpful to have a script. So this wellness check-in script is pretty simple. If you were to call or interact with someone, you just say, "Hi, how are you doing? I was just calling to check and see how you are. Do you have time to chat? And it's important to see if it's a good time or not. And if they say yes, you could ask, so, how are you really doing? And you're asking this when you have the time to really listen and dive in with them as a dedicated listener, an active listener. Here are some other questions that you may consider asking, and this is from our Wellness Check-in script as well. What's one positive outcome or silver lining that's come out of your time at home? If as we consider these many different questions, and you can see them here on the screen, there may be opportunity to connect on topics that you haven't talked about before. And so it's never too late to try something new. You may start to learn what people are really feeling and how you can be there for them. They may ask you for solutions, they may ask you for support, and you can be there for them. And if anything, you can let them know that they can reach out to Beach City's Health District. And we have additional resources as well. I'd love for us to take a moment to do some work around mindfulness and compassion. This is a loving kindness meditation. And as part of the Mental Health and Happiness series, I think mindfulness and compassion are really key. Mindfulness is about noticing what we may need in a moment, noticing the breath, noticing where our attention might be, and coming back to the breath. Mindfulness is about noticing. Compassion and empathy, but compassion is really about tuning in to what's needed. There may be suffering. You may have feelings of suffering. You may see that for others. And compassion is about fulfilling what's needed in times of suffering. So it could be noticing the goodness in a situation. It could be wishing someone well. It could be practiced with people who are easy to care for or challenging to care for. This motivation, this readiness, this intention to help is important. So I'd like to encourage you to take a moment to practice some mindfulness. So closing your eyes, taking a relaxed, comfortable position. Bring your awareness to the breath. Simply breathing in and breathing out. Bringing to mind someone that you care for. Bringing their face to mind. And we're going to send these good intentions, these well wishes to them. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you live at ease. And notice in the body how it feels to send these well wishes to someone that you care for. Does it create a spaciousness? A lightness? Maybe bringing a gentle smile to your face. Sending out these well wishes can help us feel good. And now, let's try to focus these same wishes for ourselves. So thinking about yourself, maybe you want to place your hand on your heart. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. May I live at ease. And after your next exhale, noticing what you're feeling now. And naming for yourself any feelings or sensations you may be having. How does it feel to extend this same kindness to yourself? And as we bring this mindfulness practice to a close, you may want to set an intention for yourself and for others as you work on your empathy skills together. You may have an intention to stay curious, connect, support, ease suffering. And as we set this intention, it's really affirming our motivation to be there for ourselves and others. When you're ready, gently let the light in. Open your eyes. Thank you for taking the time to do that mindfulness practice. Hopefully you feel a sense of calm or groundedness. Mindfulness, compassion, empathy, these all have roots in helping our well-being, whether through our body, our mind, or our community. There are many benefits, including supporting our immune systems, our positive mood, our willingness to help others. There are many different ways that we can tap into our wellness. And that's important now. It's important always. I'd love for you to take a moment to set a wellness goal. We've covered quite a bit of information now, and maybe you're learning from other sources as well. The many things that you can do to support your well-being and your wellness. It's in how we spend our time. It's in how we connect with other people. It's in those things we do for self-care, those decisions we make every day. So take a moment and set a goal. I will, and then name the action or practice. If it applies, say how frequently you're going to do this. And be sure to set a timeline. So say when you're going to start doing this by or finish this by. And when you've got that in mind and written down, the next step is to set an accountability buddy. So who is someone in your life who could help to hold you accountable on this goal? Maybe it's someone that you're connecting with around wellness already, and you can add one more thing to your list of things to check in about. Or maybe you need to find someone new to check in this way. Maybe your wellness goal is something that could open a door to a new relationship with someone and be a nice foundation for a new friendship or a new dynamic in your relationship.